Welcome to the session number 7, SQLite Constraints. Now let us understand first what are constraints. Constraints are rules enforced on the data columns in a table. They are used to limit the type of a data that can go in a table or stored under a table. Constraints help in increasing efficiency, accuracy and also the reliability of a data. Now let us first understand first constraint, that is not null constraint. A column can hold null values by default. If we need to change the default behavior, we need to define not null constraint on a column. By specifying not null constraint, we specify that this column can no longer hold null values. A null is not equivalent to no data. It actually represents unknown data. So let us see first of all how we can lay not null constraint on any column of a data. Let us look at the example of creating a new table. For example, I am creating a table with the name table1. So create table, table1, and the columns are ID and name. But now I have to lay a constraint of not null. So besides the name of the column, I have mentioned the constraint not null. So ID not null and name not null. This enforces while data will be thrown into the table that the column is not null, it is having some data or certain data. So I am laying a constraint on these two columns. Let us see in insert into statement, if I try to put any null data, what will be the response of the command prompt. So now in insert into statement, I have tried to insert null values in both the columns of table 1. So insert into table 1 values null comma null. So it gives the error not null constraint failed for the particular table1.id. So now I cannot insert null values in column id inside the table 1. So laying the not null constraint stops it from entering null values in the column. Now let's see next another constraint. Now next constraint is a default constraint. So the default constraint provides a default value to a column when insert into statement does not provide a specific value. Now for example, there is a city Delhi which I want as a default value to be present everywhere unless I give any value of the name city. So for example, I provide Mumbai as a city. The Mumbai will be stored under that column. If I do not provide a value Mumbai, the default city will remain Delhi. So let us see one example based on the default constraint. In create table statement, for example, create table, table 4, there are two columns, city and ID. So city is a text type of a data, ID is numeric, and default value if you have to set, you have to write a keyword default and then the value against it. So as soon as you click enter, you'll be able to see that. So we are making a bit changes here. Let's change the name of the table, table 5. So city and ID. City is a text type of a data. ID, I have not defined a type of a data, but let's keep default value as 12. So if you want, you can even specify type of the data, so integer, and then hit enter. So once you will do it, you can see schema as well. And you'll be able to see the default value is set to the 12. So the next constraint is a unique constraint. Unique constraint prevents two records from having same value in one column. For example, we can lay a unique constraint on the column name. So two rows in a single column cannot have a same name. So let us see example of how to lay a unique column in a command prompt. Now for example, if we are trying to create a table with a table name 8, so create table, table 8, the name of the table is been given as table 8, city, text, unique. So we have given a unique constraint over a column name city, which is text type of a data, and ID as an integer type of a data. Now if we try to insert repetitive names in a one single column, it will show unique constraint failed. So let us do it. Now if you look at the insert into statement, insert it to table 8 values, I have given Geneva 13, and again I have inserted same values, insert into table 8 values Geneva 13. So I have got an error. So unique constraint failed in table 8 and the column city. So I had laid unique constraint over a city column which has failed to abide by the rules. So I have received the error that there is a repetition of the value which should not happen because a unique constraint was assigned to a column name city. The next constraint is a primary key constraint. Now primary key constraint uniquely identifies each record in the table. Primary keys are unique IDs. And the last one is check constraint. A check constraint enables a condition check before values being entered into a record. If value do not match the late criteria or specification, record isn't entered into the table. Now let us explore one by one each of them. So to make any column primary key, we have to use the keyword primary key in front of the name of the column while creating a table. So for example, in a table 8, city and ID are two columns. So city text unique, so unique constraint, and ID integer primary key. So primary key constraint has been laid on the column ID, which will make ID as a primary key. So once if I have to merge the tables, I have to join the tables, I have to perform certain operation on the table. So each row will be identified by its primary key, and the primary key will be ID, which will be unique and which will represent each row independently. Now for example, a table 9 is being created with three columns, city, ID and salary. So city has got unique constraint, ID has got a primary key constraint, and salary has got a check constraint. So salary value whatever entered should be greater than 2000. That means any value less than 2000 will not be acceptable by the table. So let us see if I try to insert any value which is less than 2000, whether or not I am getting any error. So now if I try to insert value 1000 in table number 9, so I am getting the error check constraint failed in table number 9 because salary that was required was more than 2000, but the entered value is less than the given criteria. That means the constraint has failed. This is about the constraints in SQLite. Welcome to session number 8 for SQLite Joins. Now join is a very important concept in SQL and SQLite. So SQLite joins are used to combine data or records from two or more tables in a database. Join is done on two or more tables that share a common value or a common column. So there are three main types of joins. One is the cross join, second is the inner join, and third is the outer join. So let us start with the cross join. So the cross join matches every row from the first table with the every row from the second table. So for example, if table 1 has got a number of rows and table 2 has got b number of rows, the resulting table will have a into b number of rows. Let us see the syntax that can be used to implement the cross join. So in a select statement, you have to mention the names of the rows which you intend to bring from table 1 and table 2 respectively. And then you have to write in a from clause the name of the table and which join you intend to perform. For our example, now we are joining using a cross join. So we use a cross join and then we are writing the name of the table 2. In this way, we can write the syntax to implement the cross join. Now let us see in the command prompt how to implement this cross join. Now in the command prompt, if we see, I intend to cross join two tables. One is employees and another is employees department, and I have performed a cross join on them. In the select statement, you have to mention the names of the rows that we intend to fetch. So for example, employee ID, last name, first name, title, department. Like for example, employee ID is the column that is present in both the tables, in employees as well as in the employee department. So we cannot write employee ID alone. We have to specify which employee ID column you intend to fetch. So for example, we intend to fetch employee ID currently from employees table. So we have to mention employees.employee ID. Similarly, country is another column that is present in both the tables, but we intend to fetch country from employees department. So we have to write employees department dot country in a select statement, and then we have to write from employees cross join over a employees department. As soon as you hit enter, you'll be able to see that there are almost 27 rows that have been populated, and the data from employee is being merged with the employee department. So this is the example of the cross join. If we observe the generated result, Adams Andrew General Manager is being merged with Finance USA. Again, Adams Andrew General Manager is being merged with HR USA, and Adams Andrew General Manager is also associated with the Marketing Germany. So one observation from table 1 is being combined with all the observations from table 2. Similarly, Edward Nancy is also been associated with Finance USA. Nancy Sales Manager is again combined with HR USA, and Nancy Sales Manager is again combined with the Marketing Germany. So in real life, this is not how we merge the data. So this is least used type of a join and is only used when appropriately required, but this is not the accurate type of a join which we use. So let us now focus on the natural join. Let us now focus on the inner join, also known as the natural join. Now the inner join creates a new result table by combining column values of two tables based upon the join predicate. This means we have to lay the join criteria here, which was not the case with cross join. In cross join, we never lay the criteria on what parameters one has to perform a join. Now in this inner join, we have to specify the parameter on which join will happen. The query compares each row of the table 1 with each row of the table 2 to find all pairs of the row which satisfy the join predicate. When the join predicate is satisfied, the column values for each row matched pair of rows A and B are combined into a new result. Now, so let us look at the syntax. So select from table 1, you will be specifying the name of the join that you are performing. So here it is an inner join. Table 2, on condition you will lay. So condition, it may be the name of the column, it may be anything. So we will specify, for example, we saw last time employees and employee department both had the common variable employee ID. So join can be laid on the employee ID. There are multiple ways of using the natural join, or you may say multiple ways of using the inner join. So you can also write select from. Directly you will be mentioning the keyword join on table 2, and you can use using keyword and specify the column name. Again, there is a third way also. So select from table 1 natural join directly on the table 2. So it will check the matching parameters and then will perform the join. So let us look at the practical aspect of this in command prompt. So to perform the natural join or inner join on these two tables, again employees and employee department, let's look at how a syntax has been generated. So select title, last name, first name, employees.employee ID. So we have also got department, employees department.country from employees, and then in spite of writing natural join on inner join, we have only mentioned the word join. With what? With employee department. And which factor are we using? Which parameter are we using? So we are using a common variable, that is employee ID. So using, and in the bracket we have to be very cautious while we write this statement. We have to mention the parameter in brackets. So using employee ID, and then we have to terminate using the semicolon. Once we hit the enter, you'll be able to see the result. So general manager Adams Andrew is only associated with one profile, that is finance, and one country USA. Similarly, sales manager Edward Nancy is been associated with HR USA. Sales support agent Peacock Jane is been associated with marketing Germany. So now what has happened is, wherever there is a match of IDs in between these two tables, only those rows are being populated which are matching with the criteria as per the requirement, that is employee ID. So employee ID of table employees is being matched with the employees ID department, and then the rows which have got matched are only being populated. This is again the very useful type of the join that is more often used while we apply joins in the actual life. Let us focus on the third and the last type of a join, that is outer join. So outer join is basically an extension to the inner join. Though in SQL standard there are three types of outer join. One is left, second is right, and third is full join. SQLite only supports one out of those, that is left outer join. Now outer join have a condition that is identical to the inner join, that is expressed using as on, using as using word, or a natural keyword. So these are the three keywords that can be used to perform the outer join. So let us look at the syntax. So name of the column that you want to populate and available in the final result from table 1, and then you have to mention left outer join table 2 on condition. For example, it's employee ID that we did in our example currently. So let us look in the command prompt how we can use outer join. So let us look at the practical approach of applying left outer join. So if we look at the syntax here, so select first name, last name, title, department, and employees department. We are extracting country from that, from employees, and we have to perform left outer join on employees department, and we are using one factor, or you may call a parameter. It is employee ID, and once you hit it, you'll be able to see that not all the countries are available to us. For example, in the first observation, when it is Andrew Adams, General Manager Finance, country USA is available. For third observation, there is Germany available, as well as for second observation, there is USA available. But from fourth onwards, we do not find any country data available to us. The reason is left join brings all the data from table 1, from a left table, and only the matching data from table 2. So currently there are only 3 entries in employee department that match with the employees table. So the only 3 observations are being dragged from employees department, and all the observations from employees have been dragged into the result. So left outer join in short means bring all the data from left table and only the matching data from the right table. Welcome to session number 9 for SQLite Sub Queries. So let us see what are sub queries. So an SQLite Sub Query, also known as the nested query, that can be used under another query and usually used in the where clause. It returns the data that can be used within the main query. Subquery can be used with the following statement. It can be used with the select statement. It can be used with the insert statement. It can be also used along with the update statement and also along with the delete statement. We will see the examples of all of them one by one. But before we begin to explore the subquery in a command prompt, let us understand some rules to use a subquery. Now, subquery must always be enclosed in the parenthesis. A subquery can have only one column in the select clause unless multiple columns are in the main query for the subquery to compare its selected column. An order by cannot be used in a subquery, although the main query can use order by. The group by can be used to perform the same function as of the order by in a subquery. Subqueries that return more than one row can only be used with the multiple value operator such as in operator. Otherwise, it cannot return more than one row. Between operator cannot be used with a subquery. However, between can be used within the subquery. Now let us look at practical approach towards the subquery. Now coming on to a syntax of a subquery, if we look here, we have written select asterisk, that means extract all the columns from employees, but we have to lay the condition for the rows where employee ID in. Now we have to put a subquery. So subquery says that select employee ID from employees where title not equal to general manager. That means bring employee IDs of those employees who do not have the designation of the general manager. So let us see. So now if you look at here and in the original table, if you compare, so employee ID of only one was having the general manager's designation. Rest of them did not have any designation as of the general manager. So rest of them are available to us. Let us look at one more example of using the subquery in a where clause. So now we have mentioned a specific name of the columns that are required by us. So select first name, last name and title from the table employees where employee ID in. Now we will lay again a subquery. So select employee ID from employees where title does not belong to what? Sales support agent. So if you hit enter, you'll be able to see that no name that belongs to sales support agent is being populated. For example, suppose we have same structure table as that of the employees, and now we have to copy the data from employees to a newly constructed table employees updated, but both of them share a same structure. So we can use insert into statement in a following manner. So insert into in which table? That is employees updated. Select asterisk, that is all the columns from employees where employee ID in. Now select title from employees. So all the tables, all the rows from the employees will be copied to the employees updated. And now if you want to check, we can say select asterisk from employees underscore updated, and then you'll be able to see all the data from employees is being copied to employees updated using only one insert into. So this is the another use of subquery in the insert into statement. Now let us see, for example, how we can use a subquery in an update statement. For example, we look at the syntax here very carefully. So we are updating the table employees and we have to set title to the clerk for all those employee IDs which have the value greater than 3. So for that operation to happen, we have written update employees, set title to clerk where employee ID in, select employee ID from employees where employee ID is greater than 3. That means subquery will return the values 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8, and I'm expecting all those employee IDs to be updated in their title as a clerk. Now let's see whether it happens or not. As soon as I click and I type select asterisk from employees, and then if I hit the enter, I'm able to see that title after 3 has been updated to clerk, 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 clerk and clerk. So this subquery is returning the values of the employees IDs which are required to perform the required operation. Let us now see how can we use subquery in a delete statement. So from example given in here, say for example, delete from employees where employee ID in. Now I want my subquery to return the values which are greater than 4 in employee ID. So select employee ID from table employees where employee ID is greater than 4. That means this subquery will return the value 5, 6, 7 and 8, and all those records have to be deleted from the table employees. Let us hit enter and check whether it is happening or not. Select asterisk from employees and then hit the enter. You'll be able to see that there are only 4 entries out of 8. So entries from 5, 6, 7, 8 have been deleted from the table employees. So these are the 4 ways in which we can use subqueries